Okay, this lesson is graphing linear inequalities, and your objective is to graph linear inequalities in two variables. Okay, this is going to be a little mini unit. We're going to just have a quiz on this after about 2 days of work. So let's get going. So we've done graphs of equations before. Now we're going to do graphs of inequalities. So this says we want to sketch the graph of the inequality, and your steps for all of these are over here. Okay, we're going to graph the inequality like it's an equation. The only thing that we need to pay attention to start with is that if the inequality is less than or greater than, we need to use a dashed line. And if it's less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, then we use a solid line. Dashed line means that that number is not a part of the solution to the inequality. Okay? And a solid line means it is. So, we're going to sketch the graph of this inequality. X is less than 4. So the word's less than, so we're going to use a dashed line. Okay? And we're going to put it at positive 4. Remember, we're going to graph this like it's x equals 4. So x equals was a vertical line, an up and down line, at 4 on the x-axis. So I'm just going to go to 4 and make a dashed line here. Okay? So there's my line. It's a dashed line because x is less than 4. So 4 is not a solution to this. It's got to be less than 4. Now, we have to test a point to see if it is a solution of the inequality. The point I'm always going to tell you to test if you can, because it's easy to work with, is 0, 0. So, we need to test the point 0, 0 to see if it works for this inequality. Well, there's no y value, so we just have to put in the x value. So I want to know, is 0 less than 4? Which it is. Okay, so 0, 0 is a solution to this inequality. So this point over here at the origin is a solution. So because the point that we tried is a solution, we're going to shade toward the side of the line it's on. So my point was a solution, so I'm going to shade toward that point over here. And I'm just going to go ahead and shade this side. Okay, your shading doesn't have to be pretty, just has to let me know where your solution is. Okay, so what that means is that any point on this side of the line over here is a solution. So this point's a solution, that point's a solution, and so on. Anything that's shaded is a solution. Alright, so there's the graph of the inequality x is less than 4. Let's go to another example. Okay, for this example, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to graph it like it's an equation. The only thing we have to pay attention to is the inequality sign. This inequality sign tells us to use a solid line. Okay, so y is greater than or equal to negative 5. We're going to graph like it's y equals negative 5. We're going to use a solid line. So y equals is a horizontal line that goes at negative 5 on the y-axis. So I'm going to go to negative 5 and make a line straight across there. And again, it's solid because we've got the or equal to sign here. So that means that negative 5 is a solution to this because negative 5 is equal to negative 5. Okay, now we need to use a test point again. Okay, so we're going to use 0, 0 again because it's not on my line. Okay, now that's a key and I can't remember because I'm old if I said that on the last slide or not. You need to pick a point that's not on your line. So let's say my line runs like this through 0, 0, and I can't pick 0, 0 as my point to test. Okay, because it's got to be off the line. So, in this case, 0, 0 is not on my line, so we're going to try it. So I'm going to try the test point 0, 0 to see if it works. Okay, so there's no x, so I'm going to put in 0 for y and say, is 0 greater than or equal to negative 5? And 0 is greater than or equal to negative 5, so I'm going to shade toward that point. So my shading is going to go up like this toward 0, 0. Okay, and again, if it was not a solution, then we would shade the other way going down here. Okay, but since it is a solution, we shade toward our point that we picked. And there's my graph. Okay, and we'll do one more example. Okay, sketch a graph of this inequality. Okay, this one is not like the other one, so it's going to take a little more work. The very first thing you're going to want to do on these is write them in slope-intercept form. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 2x from each side. Now you'll have to make sure you follow my work here because I'm going to have to do some erasing at some point to give myself room. So I've got negative 3y is greater than negative 2x plus 9 because we would get 9 minus 2x, and we know by now this is the same thing. Then I need to divide by negative 3 on both sides. Okay? Now this is where we have to remember our knowledge of inequalities. When I divide by -3 on both sides, I'm going to get y, but I divide by a negative on both sides, so I have to flip this sign around. So it's going to switch to this. And then negative 2x divided by -3 is positive 2/3 x. And plus 9 divided by -3 is -3. So, so here is my inequality written in slope-intercept form. Okay? Now, I am going to erase that and rewrite it up here so I have room for my graph now. Hopefully you did not write yours in here. If you did, you want to erase it because we can't write over our graph because that's where we're going to put our line. Okay? And you're going to want to pause this and write this down where you have room. So this is my inequality I'm going to graph. Is y is less than 2/3 x plus -3. Okay? So again, we have y is less than 2/3 x plus -3 as soon as I get this stuff erased. Y is less than 2/3 x plus -3. And this is what I'm going to graph. So we graph things in slope-intercept form. We know our b is -3, so we're going to plot that down here. And we're going to use our slope and just go up 2 and over 3. And up 2 and over 3 for our points. Okay? Now, we need to pay attention when we make our line. This has to be a dashed line because we have a less than sign. Okay, so we're going to have a dashed line. So all I need to do is make little dashes. This is my favorite kind of line to graph because it doesn't even need a straight edge, really. We just make little dashes through there. Okay? Now, I need to test the point 0, 0. Because, again, I'm picking 0, 0 because it's not on my line. It's out here in space. So I'm going to pick 0, 0 and see if it works. If it does, I'm going to shade toward it, and if it doesn't, I'm going to shade away from it. Okay, so when I plug in 0 now, again, I'm going to be writing over this and erasing it, so make sure you're writing off to the sides where we have room. I'm going to pick the point 0, 0. I'm going to plug in and say, is 0 less than 2/3 times 0 plus -3? Well, 0 is less than 2/3 times 0 is 0 plus -3. And I want to know, is 0 less than, 0 plus -3 is -3. Well, 0 is not less than -3. Okay? So that means I need to shade away from 0, 0 because it's not a solution to this line. So I'm going to shade down here this time, away from the point I tested, because it was not a solution. Okay? And so here's the graph to my inequality. We got our dashed line here, and any solutions are down here. So if I picked any one of these ordered pairs and plugged it into my equation, it should work. Alright, and that's your lesson. Again, we're going to have just, I think, 2 assignments over this and then a quiz, and that's going to be it before we move on. So best of luck, happy homeworking.